Hello, how are you all? Just getting my stuff together. I was 1 minute late. Okay, where are my files? Pooh, there they are. Me? Hello, thank you for joining. What is happening? Okay, no. There's like a static or something. Okay, I'm just uploading a few things. We'll let people join and then get started. What, Eva? What do you want? Huh? I wonder if this is better. Oh, that sounds much better. Okay, so move to. Hello. Who's that? Hello, how are you? I'm getting a few things uploaded and allowing people to join, and then we'll get started. Happy Wednesday. Hello, everybody. Should be a fun show. Eva, I can hear you eating. I put her food bowl next to me. Hello. We'll start in just a minute, letting people pop in. And oh, cool. We have a nice crowd. Yep, Theo, Vaughn, and Tucker. Fun to watch. I have some clips from that. That was it was 2.5 hours. That was a really good episode. It was almost like seeing a different side of Tucker Carlson because Theo Vaughn is such a goof and he's so random. You just never know what's gonna come out of his mouth. And then Elon Musk was on no, they're not noise. Are they noise reduction? I don't know, but it's much nicer to be able to hear myself. These are what, Eva, these are what I used to use for voiceover. Move to. Yeah, Elon Musk was on Joe Rogan. That was a really good episode too. And I also have a clip from that I'll show you. Just a minute. Hope everyone's having a good week. Halloween was on Taco Tuesday. Oh, wow. Right. Also, it's near 1 million views in one day already. Tucker brings a crowd. Elon also. Wow. I'm not surprised though. That was a good duo, and it was fun to see how they interacted with each other. Move to. I actually think it would be really funny to see Theo Vaughn interview like Candace Owens. I think that would be funny. That to me would be a good episode. Hi, zombies. How are you? I am good. We have a nice amount so far. I'm letting people come in and just uploading some files. You're going to the desktop. And then you're going into StreamYard. How about that? Yes, I am talking to myself. That's correct. I also talk to myself when I shop. I have full-on conversations with myself in my head, and then I laugh at myself because it's silly. All right. All right. We're almost there. Ah, here we go. What was Eva for Halloween?
Progressive, liberal.
Yeah, we're not ready for that yet. Be quiet, Joe Rogan. Eva was just her You know what? You wanna know what she was for Halloween? She was a bitch for Halloween. That's what she was. She was a bitch. Mm. I was saying this yesterday. It's right over there. I actually have costumes for her, and oh, my eyeshadow is not even. I actually have costumes for her. She has an elephant costume, but I felt bad because I did read that cats do not like, it's mean to put cats in a
You're enrolling.
costume. So I felt a little bit guilty. So I don't put her in the costume. Also, I don't think she would ever stay still enough to allow me to put her in a costume. I think she would draw blood. I do. Okay, I'm gonna get started here in 2 more minutes. I'm just uploading the rest of my files. I was late today. So usually I do this before I go live.
You
Be quiet. I'm ruining the show. It's like a preview as to what we're going to watch. Oh, this situation. Something. Nope, you're going down there. Mm-mm-mm. Okay, we got that one. I got that one. Need this one. No, no, you go down here. Stop it. I know. That is the funniest costume. It's just seeing him with like that wig is ridiculous, but he has seeing him with any hair, I'm just so used to not seeing him with hair. You should go back and watch what was that show he was on, Fear Factor? He's got like a full head of hair and it's kind of trippy. Okay, I think I got everything. Oh, I thought I had two Theo Vons. Hold on. Oh, maybe I didn't. Okay. Oh, wait. Yeah. Wait. Wait a second. That's why. Okay, I'm talking to myself. One more file. I just gotta find it. I don't know why that's under something different. Is that it? I can't tell if that's the same file. Wait a second. Ah, okay. Okay, I fixed it.
you're enrolling. We should all be united in that.
We should all be united. Okay, I'm ready to start. Hey everyone, how are you? Thank you for joining. Happy Wednesday. This should be a pretty fun show. We'll start off a little serious and then get fun with Theo Vaughn and Joe Rogan and talk about those shows. Both shows were really good. I think were they both released yesterday? Yeah, yesterday I felt a little spoiled because they dropped I still need to watch the whole Joe Rogan. They dropped Joe Rogan with Elon Musk, and then they dropped Theo Vaughn with Theo Vaughn will be in Norfolk this week. Interesting. And then Theo Vaughn with Tucker Carlson. Both well, I haven't watched Elon Musk yet, but the clips I've seen are really, really good. But before we do that, we'll be just a little bit more serious because Chicago is just out of control. They had really cold weather there last night. So Chicago is it's one of the sanctuary cities that buses are going towards filled with migrants. They currently have, and they're completely running out of room, right? Like New York City. They have migrants that are sleeping in the airport, in O'Hare Airport, hundreds in the airport. and they have about 2,500 migrants sleeping inside of police stations. Inside of the police stations are so full that migrants are having to sleep outside in tents, which is posing a new issue now that it's becoming very cold in Chicago. So this was yesterday in Chicago. So this is a journalist. She works for the Chicago Tribune, I believe, and she was down at one of the precincts, and she says this mother and her baby planned to sleep in this makeshift tent. Around 1 a.m., they couldn't handle the cold, and she asked people inside to make some space for them. She said, I didn't know how cold it got. So a lot of these migrants are coming up from South America, and they don't realize how much the temperature drops in some parts of our country because they're not used to that type of climate. And you have many of them now who are in Chicago, and they're saying, I didn't know it got this cold. They're surprised. She's not the first migrant that I saw, but you can see she's got people are coughing. I mean, look, that's where they're sleeping outside. Those are all the tents out there. And then what was this video? I don't even remember what this was. Okay, a migrant family gets ready to spend a cold night in their tent outside of District 1. One person said, we're afraid of what tomorrow will bring. Okay, so this is where they're sleeping. And see, just all the young kids, because they're just completely out of room even inside. Yeah, so that is Chicago right now. I had another, I actually want to go on that journalist on her Twitter. Okay, so this is the situation outside the 17th district where a child was just struck by a car. Every moment these tents exist is a stain on our values. Where is the leadership? Why is the local federal government doing nothing? So there's a lot going on in Chicago with some of these companies that they are contracting to. So this is what it looks like. These are all of the tents. Sorry, I didn't download that, but you can see all of the tents that's outside of a police precinct, really unstable. And you saw just the sheer amount of kids that are there too, just out in the streets. What was her name? I'm going to go to her Twitter for a second, see if she has updates as far as today. So, Laura Rodriguez. Okay, I'm gonna read this article. This is her article that she wrote about this. You better not make me pay. Are you serial? No, I don't wanna. Here. Oh, you suck. It's one of those they make you pay for a subscription. Have the newspaper version. Okay. So the title of her article is How Are We Going to Survive the Winter? Thousands of migrants sleeping at police stations woke up to freezing cold conditions on Halloween morning as city officials, volunteers, and faith-based organizations scrambled to find warmth Tuesday for a population mostly from Venezuela that has never experienced cold. So they have no idea. Temperature plummeted overnight to a low of 30 degrees at O'Hare International Airport, said the National Weather Service, and safety networks stepped in to react to emergency brought on by the cold. Temperatures were expected to stay around 37 degrees with light snow. So they also had a light snow. I did see videos of that. With light snow flurries for 24 hours, weather officials said. Migrants across the city huddled in thin blankets as they sat on cardboard boxes or in tents, lined up for a chance to shower. We will literally exhaust any resource in order to be able to accommodate citizens of our community and make sure they have what they need. But it appears the influx of migrants is rapidly outscaling all the resources the city has to provide. Chicago is also the area where a lot of residents are really upset because now they're putting base camps essentially in parking lots. So they're going to have base camps with tents and heated buses. They're going to have laundry services, health services, all kinds of stuff for the migrants, and they're paying millions upon millions upon millions of dollars for that. So it's a big problem. It's a big problem everywhere. That is true. I'm hearing about a large influx of Venezuelans in New York City as well. We'll watch a little bit of this. This is I see, Senate Homeland Security Committee. This is hearings, and this is them essentially grilling Secretary Mayorkas on our southern border. It's very frustrating to watch him. It's extremely frustrated. And Chicago can afford this? No, they can't. I don't think anybody can.
Secretary Mayorkas, I think you're familiar with my chart. I started developing this as chairman of this committee. Dates back quite a few years now. It's changed over the years. It used to be titled Southwest Border in Apprehensions. That's back in the good old days when we actually apprehended, detained, and oftentimes deported. For some reason, well, I know the reason, that under your administration, you've changed it now to encounters. So now it's titled Southwest Border Encounters because now we encounter, we process, and disperse. And it seems like your solution to the self-inflicted wound to America is we've just gotten more efficient at processing. I can't quite honestly think of a greater threat to America than what is represented by this chart. And this chart represents this administration's open border policy. It's a travesty. Director Wray, you said in your testimony the threats, they're not getting any easier to deal with. Would having a secure border, would that make your job easier?
Well, I will let Secretary Mayorkas speak for border security, but I will tell you that the threats that we have to contend with that are attributed to the border, cartel violence, distribution of fentanyl, et cetera,
I have limited time. The answer is yes. Your job would be a whole lot easier if you weren't having to deal with over 70,000 special interest aliens coming from countries that are of concern to us. Your job would be a whole lot easier if this year we hadn't encountered 169 people on the terror watch list. Secretary Mayorkas, I've asked you this in the past. What numbers are represented here? How many people has this administration let in by encountering, processing, dispersing, or that have come in as a known or unknown gotaway? What approximately? I don't need an exact number. So what do we got?
Senator, let me say.
I need numbers. Again, don't filibuster me. How many people has this administration?
Don't filibuster me. That's all he does is filibuster.
Administration led into the country.
Let me say at the outset that our job would be a lot easier if the broken immigration system was
No,
fixed.
Mr. Secretary, I want a number. How many people have you led into this country?
I should also
Okay,
comment.
I'll give you the number. It's about 6 million. About 1.7 million as known gotaways. Now, again, we don't know who these people are. We just know that they've come to this country and they're residing somewhere. Where are all these people residing? Where did the 6 million people go?
Senator, you speak of encounters, and let me share
Would you
with
answer my question? Where did these 6 million people go? Are you keeping track of them? To what extent do we have a handle on where these 6 million people are in America?
Senator, as you well know, when an individual is indeed released, they are released into immigration enforcement proceedings and are subject to removal if they do not have a legal basis to remain in the United States.
You're not answering the
fact,
question. Where do these people reside? We know we've got about 100,000 in New York, and New York Mayor Adams says it will destroy New York. That's, by the way, less than 2% of the 6 million people. So less than 2%, 100,000 is going to destroy New York. What's happening around the country? I'm not going to get answers from Secretary Mayorkas. So Director Wray, what are you doing to track these people and investigate the potential threat?
So we are tackling it through a variety of means. There are some categories I would put kind of in the terrorist watch list category, and there's our joint terrorism task forces that are working with partners throughout the law enforcement community to try to identify.
So how many
agents?
How many agents do you have tasked to investigate potential terror threats coming into this country and those 6 million people, and particularly the 1.7 million gotaways? How many agents are on investigating that flow of illegal immigrants?
Well, I don't know that I can give you the exact number, but let me
Give
try
a
to
ballpark.
Let me try it this way.
Is it 100? Is it a couple hundred? Is it? I mean, just a ballpark.
Well, I would say we have several hundred agents who are tackling the threats that come from the border, both from a national security side, a counterterrorism side, and from an organized crime or violent crime side.
So how does that compare to the number of agents you had on, for example, investigating the January 6th protesters? How many agents, at the height of that investigation, how many FBI agents were assigned to that task force?
I don't have exact numbers, but what I would tell you is that
Yeah,
I feel
ballpark.
relatively confident that the number of agents working on threats that are attributable to the border far exceeds the number of people working on the January 6th investigation.
What about the height of the January 6th investigations?
Same answer.
Same deal, okay. Mr. Secretary Mayorkas, what is the average or the range of trafficking fees? I mean, because, by the way, we have.
It's a few $1,000s. So essentially he gets in, he's asking what people pay to get smuggled here and what happens, how do they repay that back? Secretary Mayorkas goes on to say, well, thousands of dollars, sometimes people, spend their whole life savings, which they do, but also a lot of people, what happens is they'll still owe money after they're across the border. So that's where the trafficking comes in, and the essentially like slave labor and all that stuff comes in. Labor trafficking, sex trafficking, all of that stuff. So it's very frustrating. There was one lady, she was on a CBS documentary that's actually on YouTube, and it was a decent documentary. I was pleasantly surprised. They were actually balanced, which I wasn't expecting from CBS. But this lady who just came from Venezuela, she had 2 little children, a baby and like a little boy who looked to be about 3 or 4 years old. And she sold everything that they had to be smuggled over the border. Well, now she's staying at the Roosevelt Hotel in New York City, and it's not what she thought it was going to be, and she can't work. So she's actually thinking about trying another city, and if that doesn't work out, then going back home to Venezuela. So there's that. It's just a huge mess, all of it. Now let's have fun and watch. Here's some Tucker and Theo Vaughn. I don't know what this clip is.
That
Right. But do you
Have to, because we all live here and we should all be united in that.
right? But do you think? And I think when I was a child, it felt like that we were all It felt like we were united, that we were all like
Yes.
Americans.
Yes.
But it doesn't. I feel like that's been pretty heavily compromised pretty quickly, even, which is almost amazing. And I feel like, and these aren't Debbie Downer feelings. These are just thoughts. I should say that. I think sometimes that, yeah, it's like America just feels like a shell company
Yes.
that
People just park their assets.
we're just an
here.
LLC
Yeah.
for
For the
a
world.
lot of, yeah.
No,
And
I mean,
have we
He does bring up a good point. It does kind of feel like that, especially it was kind of it's ever so apparent right now with what's happening with Israel and Palestine, just how divided we are just on that one topic. And it's so crazy because I think back on 9/11 and we were just all on the same page. Everyone was united. Everyone was proud to be American and all of that. Theo also talks about just growing up and being in school, and we weren't divided like people are now. Nobody cared about race. Nobody cared about anyone's political affiliations. Nobody cared about nobody cared. And it's wild to see almost how far back we've gone in the past few years and how quickly it happened. It just felt like it happened overnight, but it was wild, just especially when I was in New York City. After October 7th, which was the initial, that was the Hamas attack in Israel. And it was just wild being in that city and seeing how just unbelievably divided the whole city was. When you think about that to the day after 9/11, when everyone was together, it is really sad. And I don't know how you get it back. Don't know. Okay, where's the other? I have no idea what's in this clip. Okay, what's this one? This is
when I
And another thing too about the mass migration, if a country, you need a thread that kind of holds everyone together, like a set of shared values. And the more and more you bring people in at that amount so quickly, it destroys that thread and people don't assimilate. You're literally seeing in New York City, I was just reading a story in the New York Post about they essentially have these like little red light districts that are popping up and certain parts of Queens and Brooklyn and New York City, and it's filled with females that just got here from Venezuela and they're just out there doing the street thing, if you know what I'm saying, in broad daylight. And they're like, it's completely like downgrading our whole neighborhood, and we have to see it all the time.
have to, because we all live here and we should all be united in that.
right.
Wait, did I just play that clip? Did I have that twice? Wait, what's this one?
All live here and
Oh,
we should
darn.
all be.
I thought I downloaded a different clip, or I thought I had a different clip. I think I do. Hold on, let me see if I can get it. Silly. Okay, where is it? Or was that the same exact clip? No, wait.
I'd love to see now that would be a good Dave Portnoy thing where he does one bite to a hitter.
Okay, here we go. It's coming. Borders, language, culture. Yes, all of it. I also blame a lot of this on college professors. They're just they're indoctrinating all of their kids. It's so hard for me to fathom. Like I look at college kids, like I'm looking at the ones protesting and out there, and they're so angry. Like when I was college age, all we cared about was partying and like who we were dating and football games, and it was just fun and innocent. And I look at these kids and they're also like angry. So angry. I already had it? Okay. Yeah, we're going to replace that. I know what I did. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Okay, let's get this clip. I know what I did. All right, video. Where are you at? It's not you. Okay. This one. Maybe it's not that one. Was it this one? Oh my gosh.
You think, and I think when
Why can't I do this? Okay. What is happening?
now
This is what I wanted. Okay. This is the clip I wanted. Let's watch it.
oh
leave the
boy,
yeah, they go crazy.
I'd love to see now that would be a good Dave Portnoy thing where he does one bite to hit a coon with a bite, you know?
Have you ever seen a raccoon eat?
They're just talking about random stuff, and I love it.
You never gave him any duck, did you?
Oh, I pulled up on them and they're always like this. We
Yeah,
didn't
right with their hands.
we didn't do it.
Totally.
The gayest one is the one in the recycling bin. He's always like, hey. You know, at least the other ones are in the trash. There's always that one that kind of wanders up from the recycling bin and he's wearing like a negligee of your mom's or something. You're like, what the fuck is that one been doing?
It was awesome. There was a lot of random moments like that. They're talking about raccoons, just in case you didn't know. Good episode. All that trouble just for that little clip. Oh, man. Okay, let's go to Elon Musk and Joe Rogan. So, let's see.
It's important. Their perspective that they are progressive liberals, they have the right intentions. It's important that they stay in power. The progressive liberals stay in government and power.
He looks so funny. He looks so funny. I'm sorry.
Because this is their.
There was basically oppression of any views that would even, I would say, be considered.
Okay, so let me play that back. Now I remember what they're talking about Twitter and why Elon bought Twitter and the actual suppression of Republicans or conservatives on Twitter. And what they were talking about the censorship and how why is Joe blonde? It's his Halloween costume. Does anyone know who he is or what he is? If you know, let us know. But it was Halloween. That was their Halloween episode. But they were talking about, the people that censor and stuff, they're not the good guys. And they're saying, well, they probably do think they're the good guys. They're the progressives, the liberals. So they're doing the right thing for the right reasons. But ultimately, they're not the good guys. Anytime you suppress speech, you are not the good guy. You're the bad guy.
Perspective that they are progressive liberals, they have the right intentions. It's important that they stay in power. The progressive liberals stay in government and power because this is their.
There was basically oppression of any views that would even, I would say, be considered middle of the road. But certainly anything on the right. I'm not talking about like far right. I'm just talking mildly right. The people like Republicans were suppressed at 10 times the rate of Democrats.
Crazy.
Now that's because old Twitter was fundamentally controlled by the far left.
That's crazy to think about just how much Twitter essentially turned into like a government propaganda, like an arm of the government, just like a propaganda machine. That's why I'm so glad they did the Twitter files. It was Matt Taibbi, Michael Schallenberger, and they went and looked into Twitter and just saw everything that was happening. I'm glad that he did that. Okay. See, here's another clip. It better not be the same.
For a year now.
Okay, I was like, that better not be the same clip. Oh, I know. This one's pretty interesting. Okay.
What has it been like? You've owned X for a year now.
Oh yeah.
Do you ever wake up in the middle of the night and have a dream that you didn't do it? And your life is infinitely easier?
Well, it's certainly a recipe for trouble, I suppose, or
Yeah, he's obviously become a major target since then.
contention.
What was it ultimately that led you to make the decision to do it?
I mean, this is going to sound somewhat melodramatic, but I was worried about that it was having a corrosive effect on civilization. That it was
That's deep.
just having a bad impact. I think part of it is that it's where it was located, which is downtown San Francisco. And while I think San Francisco is a beautiful city, and we should really fight hard to kind of right the ship of San Francisco. If you've walked around downtown San Francisco, right near the FKA Twitter headquarters, it's a zombie apocalypse. I mean, it's rough. Have you been in that area?
Not lately. No.
Yeah.
I've heard.
It's crazy.
I've heard it's crazy. I've heard you really can't believe it until you actually go there.
You can't believe it until you go there. So now you have to say, well, what philosophy led to that outcome?
The progressive philosophies. The same with LA. You don't believe it until you actually see it, and it keeps getting worse. I always say, he's right though, if California is the future of progressive America, then San Francisco is the future of progressive California. But what's scary is so many of our politicians come out of San Francisco. Gavin Newsom, Kamala Harris, Nancy Pelosi, lots of people. Dianne Feinstein. They all do.
And that philosophy was being piped to Earth. So, a philosophy that would be ordinarily quite niche and geographically constrained, so that the sort of the fallout area would be limited.
That's a really good point. And he's actually right. A lot of these far left policies, normally they would be really niche. They would be like a radical extremist policy point. But look how much they get. For instance, BLM, their whole philosophy is very niche. Abolish everything, break down the family unit. And they want to abolish police, like all of that stuff. That is extreme things. Yet look how popular the Black Lives Matter movement was. Now, to the defense, well, I don't know if you could say that. Most people didn't know what the philosophy behind Black Lives Matter was. So it's also, I think, important to point out that most of the people that supported Black Lives Matter probably had no idea what their philosophy was, because they didn't look into who they were actually supporting. They just needed to post a black square and get a cute Instagram photo at a protest. They didn't know what they were actually protesting for. But, to me, housing first is an extreme position where they don't want to put people in shelters. They want to build housing. That's extreme. Giving people needles and things like that. That's extreme, but it's happening in these cities. And he's right, because kids, even, here's a great example of it. All the Queers for Palestine, that whole thing, that is, indoctrination by their teachers, because they're being fed all of these ideas that are actually really extreme, and back in the day wouldn't have been the case, but they're being fed all these ideas by teachers. And he's arguing that, Twitter was one of those places that were feeding people these horrible ideas and making them come more mainstream.
Was effectively given an information weapon. information technology weapon to propagate what is essentially a mind virus to the rest of Earth. And the outcome of that mind virus is very clear if you walk around the streets of downtown San Francisco.
Wow.
It is the end of civilization.
And it's not just propagating the mind virus, but suppressing any opposing viewpoints.
Yes. Well, in order for the virus to propagate, it must suppress opposing viewpoints.
That's an interesting way to put it.
Because
What
it
is he
doesn't stand up.
drinking? I don't know what he was drinking. It looked like a fancy whiskey. You know, hold on. Yeah, that is a tactic. It's almost like a play on words. It's a really smart thing to call your organization. They also do it with bills, like or pieces of legislation. So he's saying the term Black Lives Matter is 100% true, but BLM organization is different. Yeah, and that's a very smart tactic that they use, because if you don't support this organization, what? You don't think Black Lives Matter? How can you not support an organization that say lives matter? They do the same thing with bills. This is really funny. So what was it? Prop 47 in California. That is what a lot of people blame the rise in retail theft, like the smash and grabs and even like individual retail theft. So a lot of people point back to Proposition 47, and that was the infamous piece of legislation that said you can take anything up to 950, or as long as it's under $1,000, then you're good. That was the Safe Neighborhoods Act. And what did it do? It made neighborhoods less safe. But they name it stuff like that on purpose to get public support. It's so funny, because the more and more I learn about politics, the more and more you realize that they're basically banking on most Americans not being very informed. Because I can call it the Safe Neighborhoods Act, and then, me going into the whatever voting, of course I'm going to vote for the Safe Neighborhoods Act. Why would I not? Do I want less safe neighborhoods? The same, they actually, I would have to look into it more, but there was, I think it was in California, there was a piece of legislation that they passed, which essentially decriminalizes sex work, prostitution, which has caused the same issue that they're seeing in New York. It's caused a lot of people to now, just a lot of women just basically wearing nothing, to be in these certain like red light district areas selling their bodies, essentially making the neighborhoods less safe. That piece of legislation was called like the Safe Streets Act. So it's a tactic. They do that on purpose. And they really do. They bank on people just not being very informed. I feel like so much of politics is like that. And the truth of the matter is, most people won't read the legislation. They'll just go in the booth and be like, oh yeah, safe neighborhoods. Who doesn't want a safe neighborhood? They made a law to promote shoplifting, expected a different result. Because it's because they've been infected with the mind virus. They've been infected with the mind virus. So they're thinking about unicorns and lollipops and running through daisies. They're not thinking about the actual outcomes, the unintended consequences of, decriminalizing. Nobody ever thinks about the unintended consequences. What? You don't want safe neighborhoods? Oh, this is nice. Speaking of the border, Fox, a caravan of 5,000 people making its way to the United States from southern Mexico. And the caravan's leaders say it's because Biden's open border. The Biden administration has dropped the ball. It's not even funny. It actually makes me want to cry, and it makes me angry. This is what the leader of the migrant caravan is saying. He's saying the Biden administration has dropped the ball and he's not doing anything. So we're coming. That's essentially what happened too. And this is why it keeps getting bigger and bigger, the problem. And this is why, like, every month we see more and more people, like, every month seems to trump the last month. And like every month goes by, when the Border Patrol numbers come out, it's like highest month ever on record. And that keeps happening every month, because when people are getting in, they're sending word back to their friends at home, and then they're coming in. So the problem keeps getting worse. Oh, this is funny too. I'm just going through news stories really quick. Okay, McDonald's and Chipotle hiking menu prices after California raises fast food minimum wage. Duh. So in California, they have a $20 minimum wage for fast food workers. So this is what also happens. So if you go to a lot of fast food workers, they're in California, they're immigrants, a lot of them. So they're expecting wages to be able to live on too. And this whole thing is shifting, because back in the day, we used to think of fast food workers, of maybe someone having a second job, or teenagers, a first job for a teenager. But now you have adults going into those. You have all these low skilled workers, and we just imported a lot more low skilled workers. And they fill these jobs with low skilled workers who are adults. And now they say, well, I can't afford to pay my bills on this wage, which you're not supposed to be able to afford to pay. Or back in the day, you weren't supposed to be able to afford to pay all your bills. Working at McDonald's, you would have to get a different job, or maybe be a manager or something else. But that's pretty wild. So of course they're going to have to raise their prices. They're not going to have those losses. And then the cycle continues. It just goes on and on and on and on and on. Yeah, $20 minimum wage for certain. I don't think it's all fast food places, but certain fast food places in California, there's a $20 minimum wage. Actually, there's a place here. So I'm in Virginia right now, and they just built, like, it's a Moe's Southwest Grill. It's like a fast casual Mexican restaurant, kind of like Chipotle a little bit, I guess. But they have different menu items. I believe at that place, their minimum wage is $20 an hour. I was like, dang. All right then. All righty then. Did you see the migrants in Chicago living in the tent? It already started snowing. What happens when it gets so cold the folks start dying out there? I'm really afraid that that's going to happen. We were looking at that earlier, the migrants in Chicago. They're building like base camps, and what they're going to do is put heating buses around. So that's what they did last night. And I think they're going to be doing it every night, 8 p.m., 8 p.m. 8 p.m. Shoot. They're gonna have buses, which by the way are just regular like city buses, but they'll have the heat on inside, so migrants can go, and they'll have them parked at certain places, I think around the police precincts, from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m., which imagine just having to go and sit on a bus to stay warm, but what else are they going to do? And then these base camps, I think those are going to be tents as well. So I don't know what they're going to do. What was that one we were looking at earlier? So we looked at this one earlier. And you can hear the coughing. Yeah, see, they're children. See, that's a little baby. And she said the mother and her baby planned to sleep in this makeshift tent. Around 1 a.m., they couldn't handle the cold, and she asked people inside to make some room for them. And she said, I didn't know how cold it got. So that's what we were saying earlier. A lot of these migrants they're coming from Central America, or most of them right now in Chicago. I believe the ones arriving now are all Venezuelan. They don't have cold there. So they didn't realize that it gets really cold in certain areas of the US, especially Chicago. It's like a cold, frigid, it's the kind of cold that hurts. It hurts. Yeah, and there's another tent that people are sleeping in. And see, there's kids everywhere, like a lot of really small kids. And I've heard reports that kids are getting sick. A migrant family gets ready to spend the cold night in their tent outside District 1. That's one of the police precincts. We're afraid of what tomorrow will feel like, the mother said. So I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be a rough winter, a really rough winter, especially in Chicago and New York. And in New York, currently at the moment, they're telling single adults that they only have $30 days that they can stay in the shelters until they either have to reapply for new shelter, go with a family, or figure out a place to live, or they can also request a direct flight to anywhere they want to go, up to $1,000. Anywhere they want to go in the world, Chicago will get them a one-way ticket up to $1,000. If it's over $1,000, they just cover the rest of the cost. Midwest is the wrong place. Oh, Midwest is a wrong place to be in the winter. Yep. I've never been to Chicago. I've never been to Chicago. But I have heard about the winters, and I can imagine. Oh, uh-oh. RFK Jr. is getting more donations from Republicans than Democrats, as new polling continues to show his independent run will damage Trump more than Biden. So that has been the thing. Who is he going to take more votes away from? Well, I honestly think that someone like RFK Jr., I think he's more appealing to people that are probably into Trump, because he's more, I guess he kind of, his family, I guess you could say, is establishment, but he kind of breaks the narrative, is what I'm saying. I don't agree with him on everything, but he does cut through the narrative. So I think that people that are more likely to support Trump are probably going to be going in the direction of RFK Jr. So the question is this going to hurt Trump in the end? I don't know. I will say I do know a former Trump supporter that just donated to RFK Jr.'s campaign. So it could possibly hurt Trump. I would hope, though, when it gets to that point, we can all just say, okay, who's most likely to win the election? I don't think, although I like RFK Jr., I don't think a third party is going to have what it takes to win the election. So I would hope that even people that support him, when it comes down to it, I hope they vote for Trump. We'll see. Thank you so much for, let's see. Thank you, Frank. A truly advanced society would not treat human beings in this way. Pray for all the homeless. I agree. And it's really heartbreaking. It's also heartbreaking to see the migrants being shuffled back and forth. For instance, New York City, they're shuffling them back and forth between these shelters, and they're opening one, and then the fire department is closing it down. So the migrants have to pack up their things and go somewhere else. And it sucks seeing people like that. It sucks seeing people sleeping in tents and sleeping outside in these conditions. It's not humane at all. Some people are sleeping in the airport, and they're all just like sleeping on the floor. I mean, you saw they're essentially like little mattresses on the ground. Here, they show inside right now. They're essentially just like, I think those are blow up mattresses or regular mattresses just on the ground outside in the cold. So it's sad. It'll be interesting to see though. Like, I wonder if people will just on their own go back to their countries once they realize how cold it is. And technically, if you're applying for asylum, I think you can't even work before 6 months, I believe. But also, where are they going to work? And I guess they do have childcare. Isn't that nice? They get free childcare, healthcare. I guess they don't have a home. But it's also sad to see all these little kids out there. And the one mom that I was watching an interview with the CBS documentary, she described just how people tried to she came over with a baby and a little boy who I think he was about 3 or 4 years old. And she was just describing all the things that she encountered on the journey coming up through Mexico over the border. They were almost kidnapped. People tried to attack her and her kids. It was really scary. They encountered cartel. Her son fell off of a train. He fell off of a train. You know, they will basically like illegally ride on the trains to get them up through Mexico quicker. One train is called the Beast because people die on it all the time. It's really deadly. But she did that with her children, and her son fell off the train and had a mark on his face. So all these things they're going through to get up here, the whole thing is sad, especially the kids because they didn't ask for any of this. Wow. Okay. Biden's border crisis. It's completely shocking to see all these people here crossing from Asia, from China, from Turkey, from all over the world.
Crossing from Central. A 3,000 to 5,000 person caravan is heading to.
By the way, that's a volunteer who's working at the southern border.
A 3,000 to 5,000 person caravan is heading to the United States. Among them, migrants from Cuba, Guatemala, and Venezuela. But a different group are arriving at the U.S. border in Mexico's north.
It's completely shocking to see all of these people here crossing from Central Asia, from China, from Turkey, from all over the world. It's very unusual for this area.
No matter the country of origin, facilities in the U.S. are running out of room.
But the blame for that should really go, in my opinion, to the White House and to the governor. All we are able to do now is choose the best of pretty bad solutions.
A 3,000 to 5,000 person caravan.
Interesting. And more on the way. That's right. All right, you all. That is everything I have for you today. Thank you for joining. That was fun. Kind of good. Think we live in the cold. As many worries from people who are used. All right, you all. Okay, that was fun. Thank you again. You all have a great afternoon. I will be back tomorrow. I think I can make 2 p.m. I have to do something in the morning, but I should be back. So I don't think I need to move the time. But I will see you all later. Have a good day. Rest of your day. Thank you, Neil. All right, we'll see you guys.